All right, so I'm going to just walk through the whole entire unit for you guys. All right, let's go. This is our Unit 2 on Nutrition, Energy, and Biochemistry. This video should help you for the upcoming test. All righty. You can watch that one. He's fun. I'm just going to stick to the basics. You can go through and look at all this stuff if you have extra time, but here are the main things you need to know. Where are my little drawing tools? There we go. So you need to know that energy transfers in one direction from the sun to producers. Okay? Hey. So energy only goes in one direction. It doesn't ever go back from the producers, which are plants, back up to the sun. That would be crazy, right? It only goes in one direction, from the sun to the producers, which is the beginning of the food chain. Solar energy, which means energy from the sun, becomes stored as chemical energy in plants. Okay, those are two of the basics that you need to know. One direction from the sun to producers, and it gets stored as chemical energy. All right, you need to know what autotrophs are. Those are organisms that can make their own food by either using chemical energy or light energy. Okay, I'll only talk about those so here we have, this is like a multicellular algal strand here, and we have a plant. These guys don't have to eat food, right? They take the energy from the sun or other chemicals, but we're going to focus on ones that take their energy from light, and they can make their own food. They don't ever have to eat, right? They need water, they need carbon dioxide, they need some minerals, but they never have to eat food. They can make their own food. That makes them an autotroph. Plants and algae are some examples of autotrophs. All right, heterotrophs, like us, are organisms that cannot make their own food. So we have to gain our energy from the food we consume. Let me go to this picture real quick. Where is it? Where'd it go? It's too far away. Anyway, we'll get there in a second. But we have to eat our own food. We can't just sit around and photosynthesize and make our own food. We have to get it from our environment. So humans, animals, fungi, bacteria, many types of bacteria are all heterotrophs. So heterotrophs means you have to get your food from someplace else. All right, photosynthesis. This is an important concept. This is the process by which plants use the energy of sunlight and convert water and carbon dioxide into high energy sugars like glucose. And they also make oxygen. Oxygen happens to be a waste product of photosynthesis. It is not the main point of photosynthesis, but we are very fortunate that we have it. So photosynthesis takes sunlight, energy into the plants, into the leaves of the plants, right? The leaves of the plants is where photosynthesis occurs. Carbon dioxide comes in, water comes in up through the roots. So sunlight plus carbon dioxide plus water produces glucose and oxygen, right? That's photosynthesis in a nutshell. You should know every single one of those words, and if they come in or if they leave, meaning if they're a reactant or a product. All right, you should also know that photosynthesis occurs in the thylakoid membrane. This word probably won't come up, but you should just be familiar with it. But you need to know that it's in the chloroplast. Okay, so the chloroplasts of cells are these tiny green organelles that fill plant cells. You can tell these are plant cells because they're square. Not all plant cells are square, but some are. You can also kind of see a cell wall here and a cell membrane. These chloroplasts are a dead giveaway that this is a plant cell. Chloroplasts is the site of photosynthesis, and chlorophyll is the green pigment that is contained in the chloroplast that captures the sunlight. So chlorophyll is the green stuff that's inside the chloroplast that captures the sunlight. All right, you watch this if you want. Here's the basics. The reaction of photosynthesis: carbon dioxide plus water plus energy from light and the chlorophyll in the leaves produces glucose and oxygen. All right, and you don't have to know these coefficients, but sometimes the equation is written with this specific number of molecules. So you don't necessarily need to know those coefficients, but it's good if you can just recognize them. The reactants are the things that go in, and the products are the things that come out. All right, so glucose is one of the products of photosynthesis. Its chemical formula is C6H12O6. That means it has 6 carbon atoms, which in this case are just indicated by these numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has 12 hydrogen atoms. 1, there's some here too. You can't see them all. Actually, we're only looking at 4, 5, but each one of these carbons that's indicated here actually has hydrogens stuck to it as well. So there's 12 of them. And then we have 6 oxygens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and so the energy from the sun is actually stored in these bonds, the bonds between these numbered carbons. That's where the energy is. It's stuck right in there between those carbons. That's what I was looking for before. No, we cannot photosynthesize. All right, don't need to know that. Oh, you should know that photosynthesis also happens not just in plants, but in specific kinds of bacteria like cyanobacteria, which kind of function like a single-celled algae. What can affect photosynthesis? Temperature, light intensity, and concentration of reactants. If the temperature is too low, then photosynthesis will not occur efficiently. If light intensity is too low, photosynthesis will not occur efficiently. And if the concentration of the reactants, meaning carbon dioxide and water, is too low, then it will not occur efficiently. So there are certain enzymes that help with photosynthesis. And if they're not in that perfect rate, if they're not in that perfect range, then photosynthesis will either go very, very slow or not work at all. So here we're kind of shifting to talk about enzymes a little. So enzymes are proteins. They're large complexes of proteins, meaning they're made of amino acids, and they help photosynthesis along. If it's too cold, we know that enzymes have a very specific temperature range and pH range that they work in. It looks like this enzyme works best between, let's say, like 35 and maybe 42, right? That's where it works best, but its optimal temperature is 37. So too much lower than 37, this enzyme is going to be very, very sluggish and not work at all. And then if you get too hot, the enzyme becomes denatured, which means it changes shape and falls apart, and then it's not going to work at all if you get up to 55. The enzyme will be completely destroyed. So temperature affects photosynthesis. Light intensity affects photosynthesis. We know that light is important. That's where that energy originally comes from. So without light, that's not going to happen. And the amount of reactants affects photosynthesis. So if you don't have enough carbon dioxide and water, you don't have enough of the reactants, so you can't possibly have enough products. So it's going at a very slow rate. All right, leaves. Photosynthesis occurs in the leaves of the plant. The leaves provide a lot of surface area for absorption of sun. You don't really need to know much about any of this other stuff. You should probably know that the cuticle is a protective layer that's on the top of the leaf. It's like wax. It protects them from losing water and getting invaded by fungi and all that fun stuff. Very important, you have to know about the stomatas. We did that really fun lab on the stomatas where we made a cast of the cells on the bottom of the leaves we found from the, the courtyard? Stomatas are openings in the bottoms of cells. That lab, we saw that there were a whole lot of stomata on the bottom of some of your leaves. So these stomata are openings. This is the stoma. Stomata is the plural. So this is the stoma. It's an opening. This is where gases are exchanged through the leaf. So the size of the opening is regulated by guard cells. These are 2 large cells that are on either side of this opening. So if the stoma is closed, the guard cells are squeezed tight together and there's no opening at all. But if the stoma is open, there's a hole there for gases to come in and out. So these can open and close depending on the environmental conditions. So if it's really hot and they need to preserve water, maybe they will stay closed so they don't lose any water through their pores. If it's really nice and they're able to, bring in a lot of carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, maybe they'll be open. And if they need to preserve their gases, they're going to close up. So these can open and close. They help maintain homeostasis by regulating the amount of gases and water that are gained and lost from the cells. Lenticels are tiny little openings on the stem that also do this. You probably won't see this on anything or need to know that, but it's just kind of a fun fact. All right. I guess palisade layer, this is the layer where you have most of photosynthesis occurring. Probably don't need to know that, but all right. And you do need to know that materials get transported through the leaves and the veins and the roots and the stems of a plant through the xylem and the phloem. The xylem carries water up. It only goes one way. And the phloem brings water and food up and down. Okay, so just kind of be familiar with those terms. You should know that roots, I don't really have to know this, just make sure that you know that plants get water from absorbing it through their roots. They don't the water doesn't just fall on their leaves and immediately get absorbed into the leaves. It's most efficiently absorbed through the roots. The water falls to the ground, goes in through the roots, and then gets pulled up to the leaves through transpiration. We're going to skip this too. I'm just trying to focus on the most important stuff. Oh, I should take a picture of you guys. Okay. I'm going to pause this video right now and I will continue the rest of it in a little bit. I have a class coming in. Goodbye. Or maybe I can just pause it. I feel like I should.